Here are a few working cars made with Clockwork, which is an add-on for Valkyrien Skies and Create Mod. They use real moving parts, and things like weight distribution and friction have to be considered when building one. I'll be showing how each one drives, as well as how you can bring them into your own world with schematics, and I'll also explain how the material you use in your wheels affects performance. By the end of this video, you'll know the basics of how cars work in this mod, and you'll be ready to start building your own. Okay, so this is a small and simple car. There's absolutely nothing fancy about it, and it doesn't have any neat features or anything. It's controlled simply by these levers that each activate a clutch. So this lever in the middle stops everything, and let's say I want to turn right, I flick the right lever and it stops the wheels on the right side from spinning. Though it's very basic, this is a good design to study if you're trying to learn how cars work to eventually build your own. So how do wheels affect performance? Well, first off, the diameter matters. If we have a shaft rotating at a given speed, a larger diameter wheel will cover more distance than a smaller one, but it'll also be harder for the engine to move a larger wheel, so we have to find a balance. Of course, shape also plays a role, with a more square wheel giving you a bumpier ride and a rounder wheel a more smooth one. Recently added was each block having its own friction, so a wheel made of blocks with higher friction will have a better grip than if it were made from blocks with lower friction. To demonstrate this, let's take two of the same car and give one high friction wheels and the other low friction wheels. The materials chosen have the same mass, so the only variable is friction. The red car will have cobbled deep slate wheels, which have a relatively high friction of 0.8, whereas the blue car will have polished deep slate wheels, which have a relatively low friction of 0.35. Alright, so let's race them and see what happens. Alright, so both cars launch. No difference is apparent yet. It looks like the red car is a little bit behind actually. Will the red car catch up with more friction? Oh, it looks like the red car is veering off a little bit, and it looks like the blue car will pass the finish line first, though it's not a huge difference. I tried to gather some more data points because this is a scientific experiment after all, but as you can see, not all my experiments went as planned, and some were downright catastrophic. I was curious to see if the effect of the wheel's friction would be more apparent at a higher speed, so I set the RPM to 256, and this is what happened. I still needed a way to make sure the cars went straight, so I went back to the drawing board and made some long, narrow tracks. This worked, and again the results were very close. The verdict seems to be that the different wheel friction is negligible when driving on concrete, which has a friction of 0.4. To better illustrate the effects of wheel friction, I decided to devise a new experiment. This time the cars would compete on blue ice, which has a friction of 0. In this experiment, you can see that wheel friction does have an effect because the blue car is spinning a lot more than the red car while trying to turn on the blue ice. And now we'll compare both cars driving in a straight line, and we can see that the red car was much faster from the get-go with its higher friction wheels. So while wheel friction might not play much of a role on typical surfaces, it definitely comes into play when driving in slippery conditions.